Imagine working beside someone who steals your credit, blames you for their mistakes, and still walks around like they're untouchable? Well, my brother met that guy. But instead of losing his cool, he played the smartest revenge game I've ever seen, and by the end, that arrogant coworker lost everything. If you've ever worked with someone who took credit for your hard work or made your life miserable just to feel powerful, then hit that like button, because this story is going to be your therapy today. Subscribe for more real-life Reddit revenge stories that prove karma always finds its way home. This story isn't mine, it's about my older brother. He's one of those quiet, hardworking guys who never brags, never starts drama, and always finishes what he starts. But sometimes, even the nicest people end up face-to-face with pure arrogance. A few years back, my brother started working on the assembly line at a well-known manufacturing company. It wasn't glamorous work, loud machines, long hours, the smell of metal and oil everywhere, but it was honest living. From the start, he noticed something strange. Every few months, people kept quitting or getting transferred out of his section. When he asked around, people just shrugged. Some said, "You'll find out soon enough." And oh, he did. That's when he met Richard. Richard had been working there for over 20 years. He was one of those guys who believed seniority made him untouchable. Word around the plant was that he'd dropped out of high school, got this job young, and somehow managed to hang on ever since. He carried himself like he owned the place, barking orders, criticizing new hires, and constantly reminding everyone that, "I've been doing this longer than you've been alive." At first, my brother tried to respect that. He figured, hey, this guy's been around forever, maybe I can learn something from him. But what Richard taught him wasn't about work. As weeks passed, my brother noticed something weird. Whenever they submitted joint work reports, Richard somehow ended up with all the credit. If a product failed inspection, suddenly, it was my brother's fault. If something was perfect, Richard would be the first to say, "Yeah, I helped him fix that." He was manipulating the system, hiding behind his seniority, twisting every detail so it looked like he was carrying the team. And since everyone trusted Richard's experience, my brother's complaints didn't go far. Then came the breaking point. One Friday, the supervisor called my brother into HR. Apparently, the weekly production reports showed something insane. Almost all of my brother's products had failed inspection, and Richard's were flawless. According to Richard, he'd been covering for my brother for weeks. He even told HR, "I can do the work of both of us. He's slowing me down." You can imagine how humiliating that felt. My brother had been staying late, double-checking everything, and still, somehow, this snake made him look incompetent. Cameras didn't help either. The assembly area had poor visibility, and the footage couldn't prove who messed up what. So HR gave my brother a verbal warning and sent both back to work. But that night, my brother couldn't sleep. He wasn't angry, he was hurt. He'd done everything right, and still, the system sided with the loudest voice. That's when he decided to fight back, smartly. Now, here's where it gets interesting. My brother had known the site manager since high school. They weren't best friends or anything, but they had history and mutual respect. When the manager heard what happened, he frowned and said, "I've had my suspicions about Richard for a while. Maybe it's time we find out the truth." Together, they came up with a plan, one that would let Richard's own arrogance destroy him. It was perfect timing. The holidays were coming up, production was slowing down, and any faulty items could easily be redone without hurting schedules. My brother requested a short leave, just enough to step away and make the trap believable. Then the manager approached Richard with a fake announcement. "Hey Richard, just a heads up, your coworker's been transferred. You'll be working alone for a bit." Richard smirked, leaning back with that smug, fake confidence. "Finally. I'll get more done without babysitting." But then came the twist. The manager continued, "Also, we're counting on you to maintain, or exceed, your usual production levels. You've said you can handle the work of 2 people, right?" That smirk vanished. You could practically hear the gears grinding in Richard's head. He started to protest, something about unrealistic expectations, but the manager was ready. He pulled out a file, thick with Richard's own statements over the years. All the times he'd bragged about doing double the work. All the times he'd claimed others slowed him down. Then the manager hit him with the line of the century. "We're just giving you the chance to prove yourself. If you really can save us money, you'll be first in line for a bonus." And that was it. Richard took the bait, hook, line, and ego. The next 2 days were pure chaos. Without my brother beside him, Richard had to manage the full workload alone. And guess what? His numbers plummeted. He tried to rush through the products, but his quality dropped like a rock. Faulty parts piled up. Machines jammed. By noon of the second day, even the maintenance crew was shaking their heads. Everyone could see it now, Richard wasn't a workhorse. He was dead weight. The same man who bragged for years about carrying others couldn't even carry himself. By the third morning, HR called a special meeting. The site manager, HR rep, a couple higher-ups, and Richard sat around the conference table. Richard tried to go on the defensive immediately. "This is unfair. You set me up to fail. Nobody can handle that much work alone." The manager didn't even raise his voice. He just slid the folder across the table. Inside, every one of Richard's previous statements about being twice as productive, doing others' work, and saving the company money. Then came the data from the last 2 days, showing how his productivity tanked and nearly all his work was unusable. The room went silent. Finally, the manager leaned forward and said quietly, "You've been blaming others for years, Richard. But now the numbers speak for themselves." And that was the end. Richard was fired on the spot. A few days later, my brother returned from his time off. There was a new face working his old station, a quiet, friendly guy eager to learn. For the first time in months, the line ran smoothly. No yelling. No finger pointing. Just honest teamwork and steady progress. When my brother saw the manager later that day, the guy just smiled and said, "Told you Richard wouldn't have to work with you anymore." Richard thought he was invincible because of his years on the job. He thought experience gave him power to treat people like garbage. But what he didn't realize is that arrogance blinds you. He built his own trap, and then walked right into it. The same mouth that bragged about being the best, ended up being the reason he lost everything. Sometimes karma doesn't need a grand plan, just patience and timing. Because when someone spends their life taking credit from others, eventually, they'll run out of people to stand on. If that ending gave you chills, don't forget to hit like. And of course, subscribe for more true Reddit revenge stories that prove, no matter how long it takes, karma always keeps the receipts.